Welcome, everyone, to another podcast. You will not believe who we have here. A contemporary classical composer by the name of.
Alla Arutyunyan.
Yeah, there we go. So we'll call her Alla. Um, so, being a contemporary classical composer and award winning pianist known for your emotionally intense and cinematic piano works, you have gained a recognition for your unique sound that connects with modern audiences by exploring themes of human struggle, resilience, and faith. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast. Really can't wait to talk to you.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm so glad that you reached out. It was like my honor to host you. Um, I'd like to
Thank
ask,
you.
so can you go back to the beginning, where it all started, where you grew up, and what it was like growing up, and where you defining moment? I want to play music.
Of course, I was a young girl growing up in Moscow, and my focus throughout my childhood was creating. Um, and it all started with visual art, and it became a big part of my life to the point where I, as well as most people around me, assumed that was going to be my life. Then I started writing mostly poetry, and that also became a huge part of my way of expressing the things I couldn't express with anyone around me at the time. Um, Being very sensitive influenced those needs to find an outlet to deal with life in a private way. Um, and music was something that I was forbidden to be interested in, although that is something that I secretly always wished to do with my life. I only got a chance to realize there was something to my fascination with music when I was a young girl, doing very quick improvisation on a piano. And because music training was forbidden, I couldn't have continued with it, and it
Mm.
stayed a dream. And only when I was 21, I went back to piano and realized that it's stronger than me, whatever it is that is driving me towards an instrument has to come through. And it was in a time of loss that I've experienced, and it was a very difficult time for me. And that was, I believe, almost like a way to save myself psychologically. And music started coming through eventually, which was a bit terrifying because I didn't expect it to come through in such a big way. I've written quite a few musical pieces in 1 week. Um, and because I was already involved in acting business at the time, I decided to abandon it. I didn't take it seriously. And, and when I was on film set, one day I had a very long break, um, and decided to go up to an upright we had on the set and again do some improvisation. And I didn't realize that the assistant director, as well as film producer were witnessing this, and shortly after, they asked me to contribute music to their future projects, and I did, which was strange because I've already quit 2 years prior to that. Music was no longer in my immediate reality. I
Wow.
didn't wish to continue with it, and I quit again actually after that. So almost for a decade, I haven't touched the keys, and then during the pandemic, I returned to it. I had a near-death experience
Ooh.
um, right before I went back to music. I survived somehow by the grace of God, and it was a miracle. It shouldn't have happened.
Mm.
I feel like I'm living on a borrowed time, and it's strange how I had someone encourage me to go back to writing music when they heard me play on a guitar in my um, spare time, and it was that moment when I returned to music, and it saved my life in more than one way, which continued on throughout the lockdown. And I've written 7 albums in the last 4 years, and it became my life.
Wow. How did that feel, that near death experience? Many people have had NDEs and some of the experiences that go through. Do you think that changed your life in a certain way?
It wasn't the first time. I didn't want to mention it, but the very first experience of death took place when I was around 8, and it wasn't the experience I would want anyone to go through. Um, and it is something that I've mentioned before in interviews. It's something I had to dissociate myself from because of how terrifying it was. As a
Mm.
young girl, I had no choice but to do that. And only in my late 20s, I have accepted the fact that it did, in fact, take place. I was taken to a realm I would describe as hell, something that is very difficult to put into words because of the nature
Mm.
uh, of a reality there that is quite different from what we experience here. It is not something you can even come close to describing coherently in human language. And it didn't change my life because I dissociated myself from it, but it did subconsciously drive myself towards things that were, I believe, based in fear and darkness. And I am glad that I have come to accept the fact that it did happen, because only when you do, you can
Mm.
come out of the darkness consciously and
But I,
move.
I I know that your work addresses the theme of corruption, survival, and perseverance. And you believe that silence in the face of injustice can feel like betrayal to humanity. I want to go to your album Endgame. It's described as emerging from a time of tumult and endings. How does translating personal experience into music serve as a form of catharsis for you?
It is a form of survival, emotionally, psychologically, and in spirit. It is inevitable for the music to bring me back to life. I believe it is something most of us who create go towards unknowingly, because we do recognize that at some level it is where we will find solace and escape from things we cannot control in our lives. And it is always cathartic, no matter what I do musically, especially when I know that it will have the same effect on those around me. I think this is the most special thing about doing what I do, knowing that at the end of the day, this is something that is going to uplift someone without me even knowing. And it is a gift to be able to bring this to those that would need it even more than I would. It is special.
It's good for the mental health as well. I notice a lot of people saying that whether, they take a deep breath and they let out. But if they're like singer songwriters, they listen to music, they write music, you know, it's good. Like your music is not only cathartic, but it also helps you with your mental health. It helps to keep you sane, right?
It is. It is something that, in many ways, keeps your feet on the ground. I know it sounds very ironic considering that this is something that comes from spirit, from God. But when you really think about it, it is something that can bring you back to life in the physical sense as well as the spiritual.
Hmm.
It is a gift in many ways. It can save your life without you even attempting to save it on your own. And it is powerful for that reason. It has never been a source of entertainment to me. I feel like unconsciously it's always been about having my heart find a way to be put together
Hmm.
each time, and doing it in a way that will give me as much privacy and ability to ground myself back in reality, because escaping this reality isn't going to help you in any way. It is something I try not to lose myself in. It can really damage you more than help you.
Yeah, that's true. So your music can be as dirty as it can be beautiful. How do you balance raw and perfect emotion with the technical demands of composition?
I let myself go completely. I give it to God, and I always say that without Him, I wouldn't have produced any of this music. Having no training or experience, I can only assume um, that this is something I was given um, by the higher power to be able to give it to others. And when I let myself go, there is no focus on perfectionism, which leads to the very raw and rough results, and it is based in authenticity and truth, which I don't see as imperfect. I feel this is a form of perfection to me, um, and I'm inspired by it. It's never upset me. Maybe at first there was a part of me that wanted to have more control over the way I recorded compositions, but also having such an imperfect instrument, an antique that's never been in a good condition, never allowed me to record music the way I've composed it, and I had to let it go. It is now my way of looking at it and appreciating what I do and appreciating the music that I get to write and play the way I do. I feel the authenticity of it, and the way it is expressed has so far influenced my listeners in the best way. They can sense when you're open with them in every way imaginable, and it allows me to be as vulnerable as well. It gives me a chance to show them that there is nothing holding me back and they deserve to see it all. And it's my responsibility to be who I really am in my expression, which is why I never see this level of imperfection as a liability to my musical expression. I think it's necessary.
Yeah, your musical expression. I just love the way you play. Now, I know the heart of your music is faith, so but you view your art as a testament to unwavering perseverance. It also serves as a constant reminder of God's unconditional love and guidance. Now, as a self-taught musician, how has the absence of former formal training shaped your unique approach to composition and piano playing?
I am a very visual musician, and everything that I've ever composed had to be structured visually. I don't have a better way to explain it than to say that it is all about patterns um, that I have to navigate visually, touching the keys and having trust that the music will come through and my hands will be guided through my faith and God and what He needs me to create in the moment, and never make it about me and what I would like to hear, um, has always allowed me to create things I couldn't have predicted, um, or expected to have produced. It is always a surprise to me. It's a very interesting adventure in a way. I don't know what's going to come each time I start writing a new album, which is always spontaneous as well. If I feel a calling inside me to go to the piano and commit to writing a new record, I will do it only when I feel that pull and drive to start anew. And it has created a lot of difficulties for me
Mm,
as well, because as a trained musician, you get a chance to write music sheets and depend on them
wow.
throughout your career. I don't have that. every time I have trouble recalling how to connect certain phrases of a track I haven't played in a while. I have to depend on my sound recognition, which has never been consistent due to the condition of my piano. It's rarely in tune, and I have to believe deep in my heart that what I'm doing is right. And it always goes back to feeling out every note and going back in time, having my spirit time travel in a way to see and feel if this is something that I would have written. And I have to depend on that perspective that somehow comes through, and I can regain the memory of the music once again. But a lot of it is very ambivalent, and it can be scary. There are times when I almost lost the music that I couldn't recognize through the recordings, and the piano, like I said, didn't give me the exact right sound of it. So it can be chaotic as well, and it takes a bit of time to save the music. It feels like from losing the memory of it, it is my greatest fear. I only have that regret, not being trained, not having the ability to have something to always go to whenever I feel that the music has escaped me, at least partially.
Wow.
But it is what it is, and I
Hmm.
just have to adapt to that.
Wow. It's amazing. You just like to open yourself and just spread out. It's just amazing. Can you let's explain this quote? So every note, I saw it. It said, "quote Every note she plays and every word she speaks is meant to reach an audience in hopes of healing, awakening, and uniting people in their shared experiences." What does that mean to you?
Like I mentioned before, I try to share myself honestly with my audience, with my listeners through the music, and everything that has inspired the work that I've created so far. I hope is expressed in the music in a way that will eventually, on some level, touch those that get to listen to it. There are very difficult things that I go to words when I write music, and it comes naturally. I never have a controlled attempt to go after only difficult themes, but this is something that comes through um, in spirit and gets through in visual messages. Sometimes it is a physical sensation, flashbacks, things of that nature. And I always hope to share all of that in any way I can with with those that get to witness and hear the music, even if it is on a subconscious level. And there is a reason why I am so bold with the titling of my music as well, because sometimes the music can be too ambiguous to make a direct argument
Hmm.
and send a message. It is very upsetting sometimes when the truth gets twisted and your position and perspective of things is also twisted as well. I try to deal with it head on by delivering the titles that would clarify everything before there is any confusion. But there is always someone that will try to twist the truth in the way that will benefit them or groups of people that have expressed a very negative view of what I do. And it is always expected when you try to speak on things that attempt to alleviate pain of innocent people in this corrupted world. You will always be faced with resistance. It is something you have to accept when you choose to commit your life to discussing these things. And it is not even a form of sacrifice on my part. I just see it as an obligation to do this in the most honest, direct way, especially considering how many choose not to do so, unfortunately. Um, and we all have reasons why we hold back certain things. But when it comes to the horrors of child human trafficking,
Hmm.
sex slavery, ritual abuse, and things of that nature, there is no excuse for one to not feel responsible to speak on those things or be antagonistic towards those that try to do something about it and show resistance in the most unspeakable ways. And I haven't really experienced the worst of it. It's the survivors of those atrocities that have and still live through that type of danger and I believe a nightmare. I can't think of a better word to describe their lives. It is something that I wouldn't want anyone to experience the things that go on in this world. Some of those things
I
are
know.
impossible.
I read somewhere that you cannot stand to witness human suffering, and I can imagine what you're going through with what's happening in Gaza and all those other places, and just in the world itself. I'm just appalled. What happened to this earth? Why is it so like, God, come to our rescue?
Yes, actually, one of the tracks in the last album, Beyond Suffering, was written and inspired by what is taking place in Gaza. I'm not sure if you can recall the track titled Not for This World, but that is
Hmm.
um, something that I felt deeply and always do whenever there are wars of any kind and genocide taking place. And it isn't the first time, It's been normalized as just a war and a necessity for the economy or other political arrangements to progress take place. It is a blood sacrifice of the innocents, is what it is. And this new world order that is taking place now is a satanic one in the most obvious way. And
Oh
I am
yeah.
not going to hold back and haven't ever since I started writing the music that I've been writing. And you can go back and see the things that I shared so far with my viewers. Not just musically, I often speak directly to my audience throughout my virtual concerts, and we often discuss a lot of these issues directly, and it is a perfect way for me to share and spread awareness of some of these issues with those that aren't yet aware, um, or choose to stay isolated from it. And there has been change taking place
Wow.
throughout those conversations. And I'm very happy to know that there are people who are able to step over their pride and fear and step up to owning the truth and choosing to accept it, even if it means breaking their perception of reality, and in that way creating a temporary sense of chaos in their life. It is very difficult coming to find out a lot of these things for the first time. And only God knows how much more is not yet revealed to those that have somehow been able to see through a lot of it already. And we have to be very patient and understanding of those that never got a chance to open their mind to what is going on out there. It is not a very easy thing to psychologically, mentally process,
Hmm.
even if you're just a witness of it.
Yeah. Music is more than just a note or a melody. It is longing for connection, understanding, and meaning. Um, can you tell us what your process for creating such cinematic music is? Do you visualize specific scenes or narratives as you compose?
Um, I don't have um, very conscious approach to my writing. It happens so spontaneously and comes through the current state of mind and feeling that I don't get a chance to control the writing process in that conscious way. The only conscious part of the writing process for me is the sound arrangement, and making it express what I'm feeling in the moment in the way that is most honest and thorough. I come from a film industry which may have affected my writing process to some degree on a subconscious level, but I believe it also comes from my need and desire to address certain things that I cannot otherwise through music and it is portraying things in a very bold way, which can be described as cinematic, um, but it is only due to the fact that I don't have a better outlet at this time to speak of the things I try to speak of in this very extensive way. And I have to deliver everything that needs to be delivered inside me. And
Hmm.
I think that's where it all comes from.
That's
And
wow.
it feels overwhelming too.
Hmm. I can imagine that. But as soon as you sit on that piano stool and you have your fingers on the keys, you're a different person. You're a totally different person. Um, I know that your work has been called a call from darkness. What is your message? Like, what is message you hope listeners find within that darkness?
That darkness is inevitable in the world that we live in, and it is better to accept it before it's too late. And there's always something each one of us can do to resist it the way we are resisted when we try to speak on it. It is essentially all about eventually taking action against it. Whatever I do is about spreading awareness of it. And it's a very painful process, the most difficult one. And
Mm-hmm.
only when we get through it will be ready to take action. But it has to be genuine and it has to be based in truth. And you won't even have to worry about having courage when you genuinely care. That's what it's about. If you go to sleep and wake up thinking of those things and having your heart break, no matter what others may say, no matter how much resistance and negativity is thrown at you, no matter how many life threats you may get, and no matter how many people may try to take everything away from you, and you will still care to speak on those things, this is when you know it is genuine. And there's always a way for you to turn that into action and create change. It is essentially what I intend to achieve with the work that I do. And I know there are more people than we can imagine that care deeply. It is a world that is manipulated through fear, and we all deal with it every day. I do as well. It is a constant in this world, but what matters is that you care. And most of us do. As long as you have humanity still in you, present in this world, which is why they're trying to take it from us. They're trying to break our hearts enough for us to lose all the hope in the world and sell our humanity and waste it away. And this is when it all ends. And the dark cycle of misery and nightmare continues on. But if we persist through that and
Mm-hmm.
persevere, through all of these complications, we as humanity can finally take action because we do truly care. And we should only inspire each other at this point. There is no time left for our pride and ego at this point. It's not about winning an argument. It should never be about that. We all know at this point it is a divide and conquer throughout every aspect of this spiritual war and physical war. This is exactly what is happening. I get what you may consider to be cyberbullying.
Oh yeah.
Every time I try to speak on any of these things, and it is okay. It is not going to change me, my life. It is not going to stop me or any one of us from doing what we're doing. It is not about our insecurities, our pride, our ego. It is about the ultimate change that we can arrive at eventually. We should prioritize what is important, not what is has been standing in our way of
Wow.
really making that change. And
Wow.
I cannot tell you how many choose to quit at the point where they face that resistance. And I'm here to remind everyone that you are going to be fine. I have been called everything under the sun. I
Wow.
have been treated in the most disrespectful, inhumane way. I've been told by some of the viewers that my mother should have aborted me. I've heard the most outrageous things, and I still do every day when I try to speak on things that should matter to every one of us. And I'm not going to lie, it does break my heart,
Yeah.
but only in a way that is not personal. It is just the fact that so many choose to make this a war of personalities or egos instead of focusing on the issue at hand. So much time and energy is wasted on that, and it is no surprise we haven't arrived at a real change yet, which is why we need to first work on self awareness and get our priorities in line before we commit to fighting this war
Hmm.
consciously.
Well, yeah, it's just so sad, when you hear what's going on. Um, like, is there a reason why you took um, a decade-long hiatus from music? Because you carved a path through theater and independent film, delivering performances, productions like Gulag, Barishivo, New Skin, and Should the Wind Drop. And then you returned to music. So, what was the catalyst for your return and subsequent focus on classical composition?
My work has never been about me. I believe at the end of the day, this is the reason why it needed to come through at the right time. And I've come to as many conclusions and understandings by the time I did get to finally commit to music the way I do now. And now it is clear to me it's always been about bringing truth forth through that music. It wasn't about me becoming a famous musician with accolades and fans all over the world. It is the most um, empty and quite sad delusion we've been sold by the devil himself. And I understand many artists crave that need to feel the love that they at some point didn't get from those around them. But ever since I was a young girl, I knew that if I chose to express anything creatively, it would need to come from a place of genuine integrity. And it's always been about those around me, even if it is sometimes personal and the things that I've gone through, I also do address in my work. It is for those that don't get a chance to share whatever those experiences are. And being vulnerable, I believe, is a huge part of our connection, human connection. Um, it's never been about making music my career. I just knew that I had to do it. At the time, I didn't realize why. But like I said, now I do. And acting business was just a way for me to be able to also express myself in a way
Hmm.
that I never got a chance to. But I don't get to speak on the things that I do
Mm.
as an actor. I don't get an opportunity to do things as directly as I can now through my work. I can do it independently without having studios to distribute my work in the way they choose to and
Hmm.
censor it or even eliminate it. I do get people in the industry try to change me as well. I am not going to pretend like that isn't happening either, especially when it comes to that darkness that confuses many at
Mm.
first. And it is something that I have to deal with because it is worth it in the end. But I had to take a break because I never wanted to continue with music as a professional. It wasn't about that. And there was also a part of me that was struggling with the memory, with
Mm.
inability to sustain all of the musical work that I would
Mm.
create in very short periods of time. It was terrifying. Losing all of the music, every single note mattered. And I lost quite a bit of music when I just started writing it. And it took me through very dark moments as well because it really meant a lot to me. That music I knew was a gift to me. So losing any any of it when I first started writing was a bit troubling, and I took almost a decade off because I was terrified of having to deal with losing it and not being able to keep producing as much work as I want to because of my inability to write
Hmm.
music sheets and operate in this very convenient way. But I've survived through this so far, and I'm going to in the future as well.
Wow. But let's just take one of your ones, Lola. Now, it differs from creating music for personal album like Endgame. Like, how does composing for a film? How does it different from film scoring and personal albums like Endgame, for instance? You consider a difference?
It isn't different because it is all about what is happening in the moment. If I am absorbed in the story of the script that we're working on, it will naturally come through in the moment. And I trust that.
Hmm.
The same goes for any of the albums that I've written. It is all about what is happening either to me personally in the moment or what is happening outside of me in the moment and things that matter to me personally, whether it is something I have gone through myself or not. It is all essentially about what I feel inside me the moment I touch the keys of the piano or any other instrument. Um, I started writing music on a cello and a violin
Hmm.
this past month, and I have a different approach of writing when I work on strings. It allows me more ability to be vulnerable. Um, Although it is limited in the way I can compose as opposed to the piano and its infinite array of choices that I can make. But I can also appreciate the fact that I can be even more vulnerable playing string instruments and really lose myself emotionally writing and playing the music. It's very different. It feels very different physically as well. And it's very overwhelming. And I'm now getting to know music all over again through these new instruments. It's like a different world in a way, but the emotions are the same. The feeling is behind every note as well, but it gets projected differently.
What role do you believe classical music can play for younger generations grappling with modern crisis and uncertainty? Do you have a response to that?
It is such a freeing experience because it allows you to experience big emotions without worrying of stigma or judgment of any kind. It can be a very difficult kind of emotion or a very uplifting one, but classical music is a very extensive in the way that it produces connection to its listeners and the varying emotions it can express. And it is very freeing emotionally, psychologically for anyone to be able to experience it internally. It's a huge outlet to find freedom within and really go in and find ways to deal with whatever you can deal with. Otherwise, it's a very internal process, and music in general gives you a chance to come face to face with that. it is surely a gift in more than one ways. Like we mentioned before, it's it's quite powerful.
So, Ala, besides internal experiences and outer experiences, so what other art forms like literature, visual arts, film ignite your creativity?
It's always been about the psychological nature of things, the unknown, the things we are taught to ignore, the more difficult things in life. No matter what piece of art or literature I came to experience and chose to indulge in, it always came with this chance to explore those facets of life that I don't get to openly experience um, in day to day life. And it is all about going deep for me. It is all about arriving at the truth, going within and helping others do the same. This is when you find yourself. This is when you start living, when you choose to go deep, when you choose to acknowledge things that are very often stigmatized and abandoned in a public social way and in the life that they have created for us, the life that is full of delusion and superficiality. It is not life, it is a fake construct of delusion that we have to pretend to appreciate, but that is not life. You have to go deeper than that. You have to find the truth. And only then you'll start living. And that is what God meant for us when He has given us a gift of life. And that is what the devil tries to take away from us every step of the way. And that starts with our heart and then our soul.
Yeah, I see you on a lot of social media programs, including TikTok and Instagram. So you're all over the place, and pretty good work to get yourself out there for someone who doesn't want to be famous.
Thank
um,
you.
you're welcome. I love what you do there. One final question. I'm going to use this one as a final question. I didn't want to get into the AI in music because that's been overused. But to you, specifically for you, what is the dream you hope to achieve by getting your music to as many listeners as possible?
It is about the change that will hopefully take place as a result of giving more people the access to this work. It is not about my legacy as a musician, it is about what this music can do for as many people as possible. I truly care deeply about humanity, especially in a world and in the reality that is attempting to erase humanity
Mm,
um,
sad, I know.
completely, or manipulate it towards something much darker.
Don't get me started.
Like, I can only do what I can with the music that I write to save and assist those few that can see value in life and what God has bestowed upon us through that chance to live this life. I don't want to give up on humanity the way so many choose to. It is never too late, and
Hmm.
I just want everyone to know that. Thank you, Chris.
But you were amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so wait right there. Okay, everyone, we're going to end the stream. Thank you, Allah. I really appreciated you being here, everyone. All our information will be linked down below, all our music, descriptions, and everything. Um, thank you, Allah. Is it Allah or Allah?
It's Alla.
Allah. Thank you, Allah. Everyone,
Yes.
hold on one second. All right, here we go.